We are back to make the most requested recipe out of the Gluten-Free Made Simple recipe book, and that is the toasting bread. This bread is excellent for fresh peanut butter sandwiches or for freezing and toasting as peanut butter toast, peanut butter jelly toast. We like to make garlic toast with it, and French toast is one of our favorites as well. It's very simple ingredients. You're just going to use your gluten-free flour, your 1-to-1 gluten-free flour. I am using Pamela's here. If you watched the flour module, I recommended that you use Pamela's gluten-free flour for the toasting bread recipe, but it most certainly will work if you're using any other brand of cup for cup gluten-free flour. Then we have our salt and our yeast, our eggs, butter, milk, and maple syrup. Very simple recipe. The best part is it's all going to go right in the bowl and be mixed together. So we will start by putting in our dry ingredients, which would be our 3 cups of flour. Then we'll add in our yeast and our salt mixture. And our maple syrup will go in at this time too. Now we'll get ready to start mixing this. And as we're mixing, we're going to go ahead and pour our warmed milk in. Now once you've put your milk in, it's basically going to look chunky. Let me show you. Here is what your dough will look like after just adding the milk. Next, we're going to add in our softened butter. Now your dough is just a little bit chunkier than it was. Lastly, we're going to add in our eggs one at a time. And now I'm going to turn this on high and let it beat for 3 minutes. Now I would typically just leave this in this bowl and cover it to rise for the first rise, but since I'm going to do additional baking, I'm going to go ahead and transfer it from my mixing bowl into another bowl to do the first rise. Now I want you to be able to get a good look at the consistency of this dough. Now if you're using one of the other brands of 1-to-1 gluten-free flour, your dough will not be quite this thick. It'll be a little thinner, closer to pancake consistency than this is. It should not be runny, but it will be in between. But if you're using Pamela's, this is what your dough will likely look like. Now we will cover this dough and let it rise for 1 hour. All right, we are back. Our bread dough has sat for almost an hour now. We're gonna go ahead and transfer this into our bread pan, and we're gonna let it rise for another 45 minutes or so. Now you can choose how you want to press this down in the pan, but I really like just wetting my hands to go ahead and press it down in. Very different than traditional bread dough. You're not going to knead this on the counter in any way. Now, if you are using one of the other one-to-one flour mixes, you may find that it is a bit not as dense of a flour, and it may just be a little bit different to work with, and that's okay. Really want to make sure that you get the top smoothed out nicely, and that'll make a really nice looking loaf. Now, if you're new to gluten-free baking, this may just feel really strange to be making a sandwich bread dough like this, but I promise you it'll turn out. Okay, so our bread dough is all pressed in the pan, and I went ahead and greased my saran wrap as well, and we're just gonna lightly lay that on top and let this sit for another 45 minutes or so to rise. Now that our bread has had time to rise in the pan, we're gonna go ahead and gently remove that plastic wrap off the top. You want your bread to have rose just above the pan like this. And we're gonna go and put this in the oven at 350 degrees for 35 to 42 minutes, just until it starts to get nice and golden on the top and sides. All right, friends, here we have it. Our toasting bread is out of the oven. We're gonna go ahead and take some butter and just butter the top of that crust. This is going to help soften this top crust and make it so savory. We'll let it cool, and then we'll slice it open.